Good morning! Welcome back to the Harris County Public Library's Summer Reading Program online. My name is Anna and I'm one of the Collection Development Librarians here at Admin.
And I'm Nicole. I work out at Octavia Fields Library in Humble as a library service specialist. We just wanted to remind you here in week 7 that you can still sign up online for our summer reading program. Make sure that you're reading those books, logging those points, and attending events so that you can get those prizes that we've got for you. And this week we have a bunch of events that you can attend that you can find out more information about at hcpl.net/events. But we've got a few in particular that we wanted to tell you about.
We will start off with the kids events. We have 2 great performances by the Houston Grand Opera this week. One is on Tuesday and the other is on Friday.
And for teens, we have a Writers in the Schools program on spoken word poetry. There are 2 sessions, one on Tuesday and the next on Thursday. For our adults, Main Stage Theater is putting together a presentation on African American theater on Thursday. And again, you can find out more information about these events and plenty others at hcpl.net/events.
Now, if you've been joining us all summer long, you know that we've been issuing a reading challenge every single week. And this week we are so excited to tell you that the reading challenge is Here Be Dragons, which means that we want you to read a book all about a fantastical beast or a mythological creature. So with that in mind, we have selected 5 books to recommend to you today. The first 3 are going to be for our kids, and then the other 2 are for older teens or adults. So, this first book I have for you is a picture book. It is called Ginny Goblin Is Not Allowed to Open This Box. It is all about our good friend Ginny up here. She is in possession of this gigantic box, and she wants to know what's inside more than anything in the world. If you are just as curious as Ginny, you are going to have to check out this book and read to the end to find out what is in her box. The second book I have for you is the first in the Unicorn Rescue Society series. It is called The Creature of the Pines. Now this series is great because every single book in it is actually about a different fantastical beast or mythological creature. But we chose this one because it's the first in the series. It is all about this little guy down here. I don't want to tell you too much about him, but he lives in the backwoods of New Jersey and he is very shy. If you are someone that likes to have illustrations while you read, this is a great choice for you. The last book that I have for you is called Dragons in a Bag. It is all about my good friend Jackson here. He has to spend the day with someone he thinks is his grandmother, but might actually be a witch. Now, she gives him this bag right here, and it has dragons inside it, and his whole job in this book is to get those dragons from Brooklyn all the way to the magical lands. So if you're curious how Jackson gets his dragons back safe home, you're going to have to read to find out.
And for our adults, we have 2 books. The first is Kill the Farm Boy, a laugh-out-loud funny book by Delilah S. Dawson and Kevin Hearn. This book is great for fans of Monty Python and Terry Pratchett. It's about an unconventional search to fulfill destiny, about a talking goat, a warrior who wants to retire to a rose garden, a second-rate Dark Lord, and all of their misadventures. And our second book for adults is I Know What I Saw by Linda S. Godfrey. This is an anthology of eyewitness testimony and anecdotes about all kinds of creatures from Bigfoot to Slender Man to werewolves. It's all broken down into bite-sized stories that are perfect for reading around a campfire, from 6 feet apart, of course. And with that, we're so glad that you came and joined us for our recommendations. We're so glad that you're here with us, and we wanted to present another video to you about scary stories and transformations. Have a great week, and goodbye.
Bye.
Hey, glad you could make it. How was the drive?
Traffic, whatever.
It takes us forever to get here. Why are we here again?
I don't know. I think it's kind of nice.
Hey, does anyone have any marshmallows?
Here. Wow, Amanda, you got the fire going already.
Yeah, it's really cold. Why are we here again?
We don't need a reason to enjoy camping, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just try to enjoy the outdoors. I got that
Yes.
one. I want the big one. This one. Yeah, it smells so good. Okay.
So, does anyone know any good scary stories? I mean, I know a few, but I don't want to scare anyone too bad.
It's a good night to tell them. It's definitely scary out.
I don't know, guys. I don't really like scary stories. I mean, unless they're not that scary.
Oh, come on. Let's take turns telling stories.
Go for it. Sounds fun.
Do you mind if I get started?
Sure.
First one's called Mirrors.
Oh, I know that one.
So good.
You go first.
Yeah.
Loretta Quinn never understood why there were no mirrors in her family home. She had learned from a young age to get ready without them. It wasn't until her 13th birthday party that her great-grandmother told her of the Quinn family's curse.
Her granny leaned in close to her, while her friends were waiting in the kitchen for her to cut the cake. Loretta was confused, but listened carefully to what she had to say. After all, Grandma always seemed to know best. Her grandmother said, "The women in our family have been cursed long ago when we made the mistake of valuing vanity over all else. Now that you're old enough, the curse will affect you too. You must never look upon a mirror from this day forth, or else you'll begin to shatter."
Loretta was terrified. She always thought her grandmother was eccentric, but it seemed her strangeness had gotten the best of her at last. She ran into the kitchen, trying to smile and convince herself everything was okay. She couldn't help but look over at her grandmother, who was watching her every move.
Loretta couldn't talk to her parents about it, or else they would think Grandma was losing her mind. The strangeness of Granny's words struck with her, ruining her party and leaving her uneasy.
Anyone else would have dismissed her grandmother's words as nonsense, but not Loretta. Her curiosity wouldn't let her forget her grandmother's warning. And although she didn't fully believe Grandma, she had to know for herself if there was anything to it. You know, just so she could be sure. So that night, when everyone else had gone to sleep, Loretta turned on the bathroom light and took her hand mirror out of her purse.
Her hands trembled as she opened the mirror. She had snuck it in a few weeks before and used it from time to time. She slowly opened the mirror and turned it toward herself, and nothing. Nothing happened to her. She looked herself over and after a while scoffed and shook her head. Grandma was crazy after all. As she closed the mirror, she heard a soft, cracking sound.
Loretta dropped the mirror and it shattered to pieces on the floor. She quickly swept it back up, making sure not to look at her reflection in any of the pieces, and went back to bed. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe she was letting her imagination get the best of her. She finally fell asleep to uneasy dreams.
She dreamt of a hall of mirrors, and each mirror she looked at changed her body and warped its reflection, each worse than the last. There was one mirror at the end of the hall that she dared not look at, but she couldn't help herself. She slowly drifted towards it, and as she gazed upon her reflection,
Loretta woke up from a terrible nightmare. She looked over frantically at her alarm clock and realized she had already missed the bus. Jumping up to get ready, she searched for her mirror, but remembered she dropped it the night before. Loretta usually spent a lot of time getting ready in the morning, but now it took even longer without her secret mirror. Rushing and flustered, she ran to the school, not even remembering to brush her hair.
She managed to make it just moments after the bell rang. Everyone in class stared at her, and some even laughed. Loretta blinked back the tears and sat at the back of the class. She instinctively reached for her hand mirror, but of course, it was not there. So, Loretta had to sit through class knowing her appearance, which she took so much pride in, was untidy and her hair was a tangled mess.
Loretta knew what she had to do. The moment the bell rang, she leapt up from her seat and went into the restroom to fix her appearance. She put down her backpack and brushed her hair back with her fingers. But as soon as her eyes saw her reflection, she heard the cracking sound again. Loretta brushed back her hair and saw a small crack in her skin just at her scalp. As she looked at it, it grew larger. She quickly brushed her hair over it, trying to hide it. Her grandmother couldn't be right. Curses weren't real, were they?
Was she cursed or not?
You obviously missed the point.
I mean, whatever, it wasn't that scary.
Curses aren't real. That wasn't scary. That wasn't scary at all.
Well, why don't you tell us a story then?
Yeah, you try to come up with something better.
Well, I think someone should go before me.
All right, I'll go next. This one is called Superstitions.
Better be scary.
Okay.
There once was an old town surrounded by a misty forest. The town itself was boring, honestly, except for the man who lived on the hill at the edge of town. His name was Bobby Blue.
The whole town thought he was weird. He was a young man, but talked like and dressed like Grandpa when he was young. Like he was straight out of the 50s. For years now, Bobby had always carried around a huge bag of salt, and every day he would walk around town sprinkling salt in doorways.
He would scare off any black cats he saw, move ladders away from walls, nail horseshoes and bags of garlic to the top of people's doors. Lots of superstitious things. People avoided Bobby, claiming he was crazy. Whenever anyone was near Bobby, they always felt a cold, wet breeze brushing against their skin.
One day, Bobby was late for his morning rounds of sprinkling salt around town. The townspeople were happy. No Bobby Blue to avoid this morning. He missed the next day too, and those days turned into weeks.
The townspeople assumed that Bobby had finally given up on his weird superstitions and started ripping off the garlic and horseshoes nailed to their doors, fed the stray cats, and swept away the bits of salt still around. Finally, their town would be normal.
But their joy was short-lived, as one day, little Sarah, the butcher's daughter, went missing. The town searched and searched for her, but she was gone, no trace left behind. Returning from their search in the woods, they found their town was different than when they'd left.
Mist from the forest crept into town, covering the streets. Crows and animals ran. Windows were shattered, and an icy wind tore at their clothes. Something was wrong.
That's when they realized only half the townspeople had made it back from the woods. The rest of the villagers ran to Bobby Blue's house up on the hill only to find it abandoned.
The house, usually so clean and well kept, looked like it was falling apart. The grass was long, and the shutters hung from their hinges, banging in the wind. The paint was peeling off the walls. The mayor knocked on
The door swung open, creaking on its hinges. Inside, the house was a disaster. Spider webs were thick in the corners of the rooms, and dust covered every surface. It was as if no one had lived there in years. On a table next to the door, the mayor spotted a note.
Reaching over, he opened the note, and it read,
I tried. Now it is time to run.
The mayor ran back, away from the house. At the bottom of the hill, Bobby Blue stood. He shook his head, disappointment clear on his face. He turned around.
It turned into smoke. The townspeople gasped, but it was too late. The spirits were here, and they were hungry.
OMG, a haunted town? So original.
Wait, so was that dude like protecting the town or
was he?
Man, these stories are lame. Where's the actual creepy ones?
Okay, y'all want something creepy? I've got a creepy story for you. It's called Dolls.
Dolls?
Like those old porcelain ones in the movies?
Yeah, exactly. So, listen up. It was 5 years ago that Mackenzie's younger sister, Annabelle, disappeared.
Her grandmother insisted that Mackenzie take her sister's creepy doll collection that their grandmother had given her. Mackenzie never liked the dolls, but they were the only thing she had left of her sister, so she kept them to make her grandmother happy.
The night before her 8th birthday, Mackenzie lay in bed thinking about how awesome her party was going to be. All her friends were going to be there. She was going to have a bounce house and karaoke. She drifted off to sleep. Mackenzie stared at the 22 dolls, and they stared right back.
The next morning, Mackenzie awoke to the smells of the breakfast being cooked by her mother. She knew, like all birthdays before, the eggs and bacon would be arranged in the shape of a smiley face, which was just the way that she liked it. After brushing her teeth and getting dressed, Mackenzie was ready to head downstairs for her birthday breakfast.
When she reached the bottom step, Mackenzie noticed that her mother wasn't in the kitchen, and there was a note beside her plate. The note was from her mother, and it read, "Good morning, dear. I hope today is your best birthday yet. Love you, sweetie. Mom." Mackenzie smiled and turned to eat her breakfast. Her smile turned into a look of sheer terror as she saw her eggs and bacon were not smiling. They were frowning.
Mackenzie was determined not to let the breakfast fiasco ruin her birthday, so she happily ate her eggs and bacon, only after flipping the bacon to make a smiley face. After she finished, she headed back upstairs to write in her journal and pick out her birthday outfit.
Upon reaching the top stair, Mackenzie noticed that her bedroom door was closed, even though she thought she left it open. She felt uneasy and took a deep breath. She slowly turned the doorknob.
For a moment, Mackenzie thought she was just being paranoid. Today was her day, and she would not let little things distract her from having the best birthday yet. Once inside her room, she knew that was going to be impossible.
On her desk, she saw her journal was destroyed. Pages ripped out and scribbled on. Mackenzie looked what was left of her journal and noticed that her sister's name, Annabelle, was marked out. A chill ran up her spine. Could it be? As she turned slowly toward the dolls, one of them was holding a black marker.
Mackenzie screamed. Her mother ran into her room to see what was wrong and found her daughter crying on the floor. After a few minutes, Mackenzie was finally able to get herself under control to tell her mother everything that had happened. It felt good to get it off her chest. Her mother said, "I don't understand. I made you breakfast the same way I always do. And is that your journal?"
Mackenzie looked and saw her journal lying on her desk, perfectly untouched. Am I dreaming? She did not want her mother to think she was crazy, so she lied and told her mother that she made it up as a joke. Her mother was not happy. Just then, the phone rang.
It was her grandmother. She would be over in 5 minutes. After the call, her mother told Mackenzie to clean herself up and get ready for the party. She also warned her not to joke around like that anymore because she did not want to talk about the past.
During the party, Mackenzie could not shake this uneasy feeling. What did her mother mean by bringing up the past? And what had happened to Annabelle all those years ago? Even though she was upset, she put on a brave face and hung out with her friends.
When it was time to open gifts, Mackenzie was not surprised to get another creepy doll from her grandmother. She felt her emotions get the best of her. She remembered the morning events and started to cry. Her mother told her to put the doll in her room. Mackenzie was thankful to get away from that party.
In her room, she threw the doll onto the shelf and paced around. A million thoughts were rushing through her head. What happened in the past? Why was her family so afraid of it? Just then, she heard someone call out her name.
Slowly looking toward her mirror, she saw the reflection of her sister Annabelle. She was motioning Mackenzie to come closer. As she got closer to the mirror, she reached out to touch her sister. She missed her so much and wanted to hug her. Once her hand touched the glass, Mackenzie felt her entire body turn cold and stiff. When she looked again at her reflection, a doll stared back.
Okay, I do have to admit that one was pretty good.
Dolls are always haunted. She should have known better.
Yeah, we've all seen enough movies to know that dolls are creepy.
Did you really have to name the sister Annabelle?
It's the first thing I could think of.
She might as well have had a brother named Chucky.
All right.
We should take a selfie to remember all these stories that we just told.
Yeah.
Sure. Huh?
Ready, guys?